Let's bring in MSNBC host of The Last Word, Lawrence O'Donnell, who's been in the court overflow room. Lawrence, you've been there, it feels like every day. What struck you today about Michael Cohen on the stand?
Well, Michael Cohen delivered what the prosecution needed him to deliver, including the phrase false business record. He was asked early in his testimony this morning, when going through the invoices for his services that he did not provide, whether those were false records. He said they were, and more importantly, the records created by the Trump organization paying him, he said, were false business records, including the check stubs that came along with each one of those signed checks signed by Donald Trump. And he also stressed in his testimony, as the DA brought out, that the creation of the false business records was a Trump organization idea, which is to say, Michael Cohen just expected to get one of these $35,000 checks every month. He wasn't getting them, and he was told, send us an invoice. Send us an invoice so that we can put in for the payment. So Michael Cohen's sending of the invoice is what generates the false business records. And it wasn't Michael Cohen's idea to send those invoices and generate any of those false business records. But he was taken through that very carefully, establishing the exact elements that the crime requires to be filled. And then later, toward the end of the testimony, when he was asked, why did you pay Stormy Daniels? And he said it was to help the campaign. That was the only reason. And if Donald Trump were not a candidate, he absolutely would not have paid Stormy Daniels. Stormy Daniels probably never would have been paid. And the actual last words of his testimony before we went, before the defense, the prosecution completed the direct testimony, was the question, the ultimate question to Michael Cohen. Do you have any regrets? And he said, I do. He said, I regret doing things that I should not have. He said, I violated my moral compass, and I suffered the consequences for that, and so did my family. And those were the actual last words that the jury heard from Michael Cohen before this recess break for lunch, after which we're going to see something completely different than what we've seen so far, and that'll be the cross-examination.
Lawrence, do you think that the litany of lies that he told is going to, still be the residing impression? I guess before the cross, it's a little difficult to say how this is going to be handled, but they have so much material to work with here from everything that he testified to today, the lies and the attempt to walk back from the guilty plea.
Well, you can't have a witness from the Trump side of this story who hasn't told lies to get Donald Trump to this place. This whole case is about a lie. It's the lies, the initial lies about, he had no idea who Stormy Daniels was. And so what the jury has gone through now with Michael Cohen on the witness stand is the evolution of those lies, the way those lies moved over time, the way they grew at certain points, and then the way those lies were openly abandoned by Donald Trump and others. There came a point where Donald Trump decided, to say, okay, say you paid off Stormy Daniels and say it was your idea. So it's impossible for a witness like Michael Cohen to come into this case and to provide useful information without actually having lied his way to get to the point where he's in a position with Donald Trump that he can be in the room with Donald Trump, Allen Weisselberg, planning the lie of how he will be reimbursed. So, of course, Michael Cohen has a whole mountain of lies that leads him to here. But the important part about it is the way the DA brought out the story over time and how those lies changed over time. And then the big decisions Michael Cohen made after the FBI raided his home and the hotel room he was temporarily staying in and his office, and how his meeting with his family about what to do next turned him away from that life of lying for Donald Trump to try to find a way out of this by finally stopping the lies. So that's the story that the jury has as of now. And so getting up there on cross-examination and thinking you can score a point simply by revealing that Michael Cohen lied, it's too late for that. Michael Cohen has revealed a great deal of how much he lied, and so the job of cross-examination will be to pick individual lies and try to use that lie as the lever that separates the jury from accepting the rest of Michael Cohen's testimony.
And arguably, Lawrence, potentially by doing that, getting under Michael Cohen's skin, is there anything that you have seen in his testimony? And granted, this is friendly questioning. He's going to face a very different situation with Todd Blanche. But any moment of emotion, impatience, anything that would say to you, even tiredness, that would say to you that could be an opening for Todd Blanche and a problem for Michael Cohen in the prosecution?
Absolutely not. Not a single hint of it, Chris. And of course, what's so interesting about that for us is that we've all seen those kinds of emotional tendencies in Michael Cohen in other appearances that he's done, certainly his podcast, which he talked about today, and on television. We've seen that. We've seen that wild, undisciplined side of Michael Cohen. But as we all come out here and say this is a different Michael Cohen that we're seeing on the witness stand, that's true of every person who has ever taken the witness stand and taken an oath. It changes everyone. No one sits on a witness stand and sounds like they sound at home or sounds like they might sound on TV or in other settings. The witness stand is a unique setting. It is like a surgery room. Everyone is completely different when they're in that spot. And Michael Cohen has been the best version of Michael Cohen, and we've all seen the worst versions of him.
Lawrence, it's always great to talk to you. Thank you so much for coming on. And for more of Lawrence's observations from inside the courtroom, we have special coverage, including Lawrence, starting at 8 p.m. And make sure to tune in to The Last Word tonight at 10 p.m. as well. All of it, of course, right here on MSNBC.